ZN 8-18-10, 140 and 160 Ferguson Drive. Delegation 7H, Linda Cura, application for official plan amendment and zone change OP 18-07-8, ZN 8-18-10, 140 and 160 Ferguson Drive. Delegation 7I, David Steller, application for official plan amendment and zone change OP 18-07-8, ZN 8-18-10, 140 and 160 Ferguson Drive. Delegation 7J, John Ruxton, application for official plan amendment and zone change OP 18-07-8, ZN 8-18-10, 140 and 160 Ferguson Drive.
Thank you. And you've heard the motion. All those in favor of adding to the agenda? Approved. And we will start with our first delegation. We have Ian Mayberry here with us regarding the Woodstock Triathlon Club and the update regarding the Kids Duathlon. Oh, did he not make it here? Okay. Going once, going twice. We'll hear that matter another day. Next up, we have Megan Litchke regarding the Painted Crosswalk Initiative. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Angela, and this is Megan, and we're both nurses from Southwestern Public Health. So we just have the slides there. We're just going to give you a quick introduction to a project we're working on. For the last year and a half, Central School has been involved in a program called Active and Safe Routes to School. Active and Safe Routes to School is an organization that partners with schools to promote active transportation. Active transportation is any form of human-powered travel, which includes walking, cycling, rollerblading, and scootering. Active transportation has many benefits, including improved physical and mental health, less traffic congestion, and increased safety around the school, improved air quality, enhanced student learning, and increased connection in the community. Here are the members on our committee. There's a mixture of public health, police, city, and school representation. We try and meet once a month. Just to give you some quick background, the committee formed in 2017-2018 school year. The school community was surveyed and traffic data around the school was collected through traffic counts and a community walkabout. Data and surveys identified the corner of Hunter and Light as having the highest number of safety concerns from the parents in the school. And city engineering data also showed traffic numbers warranted a four-way stop at this corner.
So through the survey data, we asked the top barriers to both parents and students as to why they're not using active transportation to get to school. And one thing we did notice from the students' perspective that they mentioned that it's not fun, and from the parents it was definitely more the safety concerns. So from this data, with the committee, we have since successfully implemented quite a few different interventions at the school. We've completed in-class education about pedestrian and cycling safety. We did a bike rodeo at their year-end barbecue last year in June. We helped promote the no stopping bylaws and the new speed zones in front of the school. We were successful in receiving a grant to identify 4 safe routes to school, and we have wayfinding signs that will be on those routes, which identify the amount of time it takes with walking or cycling to get to the school from that location. And then we've also just had the 4-way stop implemented at the corner of Hunter and Light. Another fun event we did in October was the whole school participated in iWalk Day. So every kid from JK to grade 8 came out for a walk, and we walked around the block around Victoria Park. It was quite nice, and the kids loved it, and we're really in touch with nature. It only lasted about 15 minutes, but it was a really good event for the school, and the Oxford County Injury Prevention Team was there, which has our local police and firefighters and paramedics to come just to ensure that safety wasn't an issue for any of the students. So the project we're at now is the painting of the crosswalk, which is a resident-led traffic calming initiative. And we got the idea from Love My Hood, which is a project run by the City of Kitchener. It brings awareness to traffic safety issues in the neighborhood. It helps to reduce vehicle speeds. It enhances the overall look and feel of the streetscape. It adds some creativity and beauty to the neighborhood, and it brings the local residents together to work on something that's fun and beneficial for the neighborhood. And that's it, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Questions of council. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not really a question, just more a comment that I love what you're doing, I gotta say. Really support this and really hope other schools are watching and encouraged and kind of follow along, and this kind of spreads a lot more here in the city. So job well done by the entire committee. I really like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. Through to the presenters, I just want to say your committee has been very busy, and the recommendations that you have given to council as far as the speed zones in front of the school wasn't very well received, but I think concern has is down now, but I mean, it all makes sense, especially when you're going through them. The four-way stop at Light and Hunter is now the cause of a lot of conversation, but I think once people become accustomed to it, it only makes sense that you could sit there for the longest time, and I can't imagine that as someone driving, as someone trying to cross safely. So I think that was a great idea for any students trying to get to their school. So well done. I think you guys are definitely making a positive effect in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Schattenberg.
Guess just a comment as well from the mayor through the delegation. We always talk about things like distracted driving, but even driving around the central school, for example, you see the impressive courthouse, and if you're from out of town or haven't driven past it a lot, you go, wow. But you have to pay attention to the students, you have to pay attention to the pedestrians, and people pushing strollers or whatever else is going on, or people trying to get to the library, and just sort of pay attention, and anything that you can do to sort of, as they say, shine a light on that intersection or that area would be of great benefit, I believe.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, we'll deal with that later when we get to the engineering report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Officer Doug Hannon with us regarding the Woodstock Sea Cadet Corps and a request for name change on their training facility. Welcome.
Thank you. I do have handouts if anyone would like one. So, Honorable Trevor Birch, City Council, I'd like to thank you for having me here. Today I would like to talk about the dedication of the Sea Cadet Hall to honor a true community hero, Commander David Stock. What I'm going to talk about today is a brief bio of Commander Stock, why it's important for the Navy League and Sea Cadets that this dedication takes place and that we honor this man, and what the dedication will look like. Though Commander Stock was born in Timmins, he moved to Tavistock at a young age, and with the family farm that operated to 2017 was a constant resident. Now, Commander Stock went to university for agriculture and law. He could have taken that easy way out and stayed in those positions. But he joined the Naval Reserve. He actually put himself in harm's way for our country for over 29 years. In 1955, he enrolled with the Royal Canadian Naval Reserve and saw service on over a dozen ships on both coasts and our NATO allies. He finished his career as an executive officer with one of our reserve bases. He was actually an executive officer with two of our reserve, HMCS Patriot and Star. What a lot of people don't realize is without his efforts, HMCS Prevost, which is in London, might not be its own reserve base. So how does that translate to the good work he's done in our community and why we should honor him? When he retired, He became instrumental with the Navy League and Sea Cadet program. The building we are now in, he helped negotiate with the city for us to use that building. He is the honorary captain of our Navy League Corps. And one of our cups that the Navy League cadets get is in his honor, the David Stock Cup. It is for the best of our cadets. My senior cadets and the Sea Cadets, a lot of them were completely shocked and mortified when they learned about his passing. He celebrated them. He instructed them and he showed them a better way. We need to keep that going. That type of commitment that he had for our city and for our Cadet Corps, personally, financially, and with his dedication, cannot be let go. His legacy to build this community, to show our youth what they can actually do and how to lead and be led for that matter, is important. Now, I don't remember one mess dinner, one annual inspection, one Remembrance Day that he was not there. Battle of the Atlantic, he was there to be there. He appreciated the youth, but he also helped the youth appreciate those who went before them. He was instrumental in getting our kids to understand the sacrifices that were made by our veterans. Now, how will this dedication look? What we're proposing is that we affectionately call our hall the ship. We wish to change that. We wish to call it the Commander David J.B. Stock Cadet Training Facility. I think it's important for our kids to actually have a place for those who knew him, to honor him this way, and for those who unfortunately will never have met him, to be able to learn. His legacy is more than just what he did in life. It's for us to take that up. Now, there will be a plaque displayed in the gangway, and there will also be, we're hoping that as many delegation from the city can be there as possible, but it'll also be provincial, federal, military, and civilian. We're going to bring the military community, our civilian community, together to honor someone who actually touched both sides. And afterwards, there will be a memorial at the Navy Club, which everyone, again, is invited to. Again, my name is Sub-Lieutenant Hannon. Today we talked about a short bio. I discussed on why it is important for this to happen, and finally, how it would generally look. Is there any questions?
Thank you. I'll start with my own comments first. I want to thank you so much for coming forward today. The first time I met Commander Stock, it was in a faraway place called Hickson, and I was a little boy of 10 or 11 years old. And the inspiration and the words he gave me at that time have been with me since. I interacted with him again when I was in a high school that wears purple called Huron Park. I remember when I came back from university, he continued to challenge me when he dealt with me professionally in a banking institution. And over the years and the community involvement, the number of things he did aside from Navy League, so many other things within the community behind the scenes, very quietly. When I assumed this role here at the city, we began to interact professionally yet again regarding the Navy League, the Sea Cadets, meetings here at City Hall, all of those special events that you have named. And when he was ready to downsize from that stately farm near Tavistock to call Woodstock his permanent home, where he had operated his law practice and done the community events for so many years. He had to get rid of an autographed portrait of the Queen and the Prince, and it now hangs in the mayor's office. And thank you to our curator who helped put together the plaque that will always commemorate that Commander David Stock gave those gifts here to the city. And there's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross and things we follow with bylaws to make sure that a legacy like this will live on for generations to come. And at this point, I ask council if they have any questions. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship, through Lieutenant Hannon. I just want to thank you very much for bringing this forward. I knew David personally for a long time, and I think in his own humble way, he would be very pleased to know that he was so well thought of, and by yourself and all the Sea Cadets, and I think by the community. And I think this is a very small token how we can recognize his contribution he's made to this community and to your organization as well. I know it was very close to his heart. I don't think there ever was a time in meeting that he didn't talk about it or was very proud of the accomplishments that had taken place here. So well done to bring it forward. It's very well deserved.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward to us, and I highly respected David Stock. I met him when I was a tax collector, and he was with his office would be coming over and getting tax information, and he was just a gentleman and just a wonderful person. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I too just want to say very similar things. Anytime I had Commander Stock interaction, he always talks so well of your organization, and I think this is, if we can't do something like this for a citizen that did take such an integral part of our community, I mean, it's people like him that we should be doing this for. So thank you. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much, and we'll deal with that later. Our next series of delegations, before I call the first one up, I just want to remind all of the delegations regarding 140 and 160 Ferguson Ave that tonight council will not be making a decision on this matter as it's being deferred for a study that needs to be completed. And I will remind all of the presenters, this is a trial run for when you come back for the real meeting on this matter. So you each have 5 minutes, but you can only cover something that has not been covered by the people presenting before you. So each successive presentation must contain new information. And again, council will not be making a decision on this matter tonight due to the nature. So we will start with Francis Wicklum. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Thanks for the trial run, I guess I'll have to say, rather than having to decide things tonight. We'll get to come back here and talk to everybody again. I wanted to bring up 3 matters. We noticed that the application refers to a proposed reduction in the required parking spaces and green space of the building site. The lack of the required parking spaces is going to put a lot of stress on our neighborhood. We already have issues on the street where people park on both sides because we're a medium density neighborhood. We have low-rise buildings, we have retirement home, we have townhouses, we have row condos. We have a lot of mid-density in that area. People park on the streets. We end up with a 1-lane street to go in 2 directions. If we have an additional 50-plus vehicles, they will either put stress on the parking lots for the buildings that exist already, or they're going to put severe stress on the street. Would a traffic study may be something that should be looked into for this? The lack of green space is also going to create an issue with first aesthetics, but secondly, more importantly, is going to cause an issue with drainage in the area. We already have somewhat of an issue. The water runs down the road quite rapidly when we have rain. It runs across the road from that area, or on that side of the street, which is the west side, to the east side, into the parking lots, causing quite a bit of flooding in some areas. So this might be something else that needs to be looked at, with the lack of the green space being offered in that area. And really, those are my issues that I wanted to bring to everyone today. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And our next presentation will be from John Richardson. Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Now, on Monday, I brought up a subject of students. The first drawing we had didn't have students, but the second one now has a 70 student unit, which could equate to 140, we're not sure yet. Oh, I should have told you, John Richardson, my address is 176 Ferguson Drive.
Okay, you don't need to do that right now.
Now Ferguson, it's 176 is south of the subject land. And we have quite a bit of trespassing from students, mainly going to St. Mary's and Fanshawe College. So, as I explained to the people that were here the other night, we have put no trespassing signs all around the property. We've approached them, and like I said before, the answer is F off from the students. So, we've been to the school, and they say that unfortunately they're off the premises, so not our problem. Police need to catch them in the act. They walk over the property, they leave litter, plastic bottles, cans, all sorts of stuff like that in the bush. They also smoke in the bush, which is, that's okay. So, when I see that there's 70 units coming in, I say to myself, well, is that going to make our trespassing of the property a little worse? Because, as I said before, I couldn't hold it out, not on the thing, but when they come out the front of their building, they will go to Ferguson, turn left on Ferguson, go to Parkinson, turn left on Parkinson, go up the hill to the lights at Finkel, and then come down to Fanshawe College, which I'm guessing could take about 15 minutes. The route through the back would probably take 3 or 4 minutes. So, human beings as they are, I think we know which way they're going to go. So that really is the student portion. And if you read the paper, I've got another concern, and that's with the blowing up of the building, which the building in question is the Beacon. If anybody's seen the Beacon, it's quite a structure, thick walls. And I understand from the signs it's going to be imploded. Now, I'm not sure if anybody's seen something imploded, a stadium, high-rise, the towers at Nanticoke, that type of thing. When it blows, there's a lot of concrete dust that goes quite away. And if you look where we are on the plan, we are probably the closest thing to that beacon. So that's one issue. Who's going to clean up if we get all that all over a property? Secondly, is that explosion going to cause any damage to the property? Cracks in the basement, windows smashing, whatever. I don't know, I'm just asking. And that's something I'd like to, the people that's going to do this, to give us some idea of what we're in for. And other than that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Questions of council? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next delegation is from Levko Yusip. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and Mayor. On this application for official plan amendment and zone change, there's a preamble, and I believe on page 3, it states here the subject lands are approximately 1.4 hectares and are currently occupied by the lighthouse structure. And then second sentence, it says, the church and monastery that previously occupied the lands have since been demolished. This sentence, does it imply that there are 2 buildings that were demolished on this site? Because this building is a monastery under the Byzantine or Eastern Rite. It is not a church. A church and a monastery are 2 different things. So I hope this is clarified that this is a monastery and not a church. This property, I believe, was established by the Studite monks in 1951, and there's a lot of heritage that perhaps I could talk about if it's you'd be interested to hear. But with regards to planning issues, there is an amendment, I believe, on your Oxford official plan, Amendment 174, that says that the site placement, landscaping, and parking for multi-residential units designed to contribute to existing character and they should minimize impacts on the existing residential uses. Most of the neighborhood here that is here, we have several questions on how this development will minimize impact on the current residential properties that are there. With regards to section 7.2.6.22, referring to the Southside Community Planning Area, I believe there's a special policy in place that any high-density residential designation in this area, which is the area we're speaking of, should have a low-profile height coverage of a maximum of 5 stories in height. So I'm wondering how this is going to be handled in interpretation with this application. With regards to 7.26 high-density residential area, a development like this should have direct access to an arterial or collector road. And I believe Ferguson Drive is not one of either. I believe it's a local road, and currently there are 8 access drives from different multiple residential complexes that feed onto Ferguson Drive. And all these 8 access drives are an approximation of about 600 feet from the intersection of Parkinson Road. So according to the neighborhood, there's already congestion on Ferguson Drive, and depending on the time of the day and the time of the year, with cars parking on the street, this new development will add even to more congestion to this site. Now with regards to the site that has certain size and configuration and topography, we're wondering if there's enough flexibility with this design to mitigate any adverse effect on the amenities and character of the adjacent residential properties through adequate setbacks, buffering, and screening. The site plan that we have seen shows minimum amount of buffering and a minimum amount of screening, especially vegetation. It seems like all the existing mature trees on site will be removed. Now when it comes to a tree inventory that perhaps will review the existing trees on site, perhaps this tree inventory should characterize the trees that are there with regards to size, quality, quantity, caliper, genus, species, economic, and aesthetic value. And if our policy in Woodstock is to compensate any loss of tree on a ratio of 3 to 1, would this be adequate in this case when we have so many mature trees that are on site? In many progressive municipalities in Ontario, they have incorporated a tree saving policy where even permits have to be taken out for any tree removal. And I hope Woodstock will soon incorporate their own tree saving policy with regards to situations like this. And I believe that's all I would like to say at the moment.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Talbot?
Thank you, Worship, through to Mr. Yusuf. Just a clarification, there is no site plan for that property. It's only a concept plan right now. So a site plan would come after, but just so that your concern there, that's not been completed.
One question with regards to the application. Is Shido Construction Incorporated the applicant for this proposal, zone change? Pardon? Well, it says here they're the owner of the property currently. And it says here the applicant is Shido. So is Shido acting as the prime consultant and the general contractor for this development? The contractor. And PICI Investments, is that a corporation belonging to Mr. Shaler? That's his corporation. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And our next delegation is Dimitri Kukula. Welcome.
Good evening, Your Honor Mayor, honorable council members. I'm Dimitri Kakula, the owner of and manager of the Basil Oster Seniors only apartment building at 550 Parkinson Road. I have significant concern over the proposed development as it will impact my property and surrounding properties by affecting sunlight, views, traffic flow, and privacy. The proposed development does not appear to comply with the official plan on the following points. The official plan designates the area as Southside Community Planning Area, which permits maximum height of 5-story apartment building. High-density residential development should have direct access to arterial and collector roads. Ferguson Drive is not such designated road under the official plan. The official plan expects high-density residential development to result in gradual transition from low-profile residential to higher-profile residential buildings and vice versa. We don't have like this here. The proposed development cannot accommodate the parking space requirement. Also, about shadow privacy, the multiple units dwellings will be sufficiently separate from each other and from parking areas to ensure privacy and to avoid prolonged period of shadowing, especially during the winter times. By the shadow study was provided the developer, the shadow, especially in the winter times in my building, they'll be from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock afternoon. That's most when the sun up. They'll be covered the shadow. By study was provided developer. Also, their proposal is for 168 units, but the property is publicly listed for sale, proposing the 225 unit development. Also, there's difference what we can see, and we know what to expect. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Dimitri. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next presenter is Linda Kura. Welcome.
Thank you.
try to speak loudly. I guess everybody can hear me. Most of the issues that we have already been presented, so I'm not going to go over them again. I mean, we've been going over them amongst ourselves for over 2 weeks now, so. Anyways, I just want to point out that the changes that are being proposed for this special R4 zoning is not really in keeping with the surrounding development that's in the neighborhood. And I'm just wondering, they're proposing to change or reduce the parking spaces by an additional 20% than what's allowed, and change the amount of the landscaping by 55%, a reduction of 55, and so on. These are all to just accommodate a large two-story, two 8-story buildings, which, you know, is really going to look silly in that complex of ours. We have an official plan, and we have zoning bylaws in place to for every developer that comes along. Why do we want to make all these changes for one specific developer? I mean, we have other builders in the community that have to abide by the bylaws and the zoning regulations, and I think that perhaps this one should do the same and maybe build something that's more compliant with the area that we have. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much. And our next presenter is David Stiller. Welcome.
Welcome. Or I should say thank you, and thank you for having this meeting. My name is David Stiller. The concerns that we have, some of them have already been spoken about, is the parking and so on. Some of the other concerns my wife and I have, and some of our fellow neighbors in our complex on Beacons Way or 176 Ferguson, a lot of the people did not get notices of either of the planning things. So we were concerned that lack of notices gives lack of perspective of people speaking their minds and things. We also feel that there's no respect taken on the builder for the people around, basically most of them seniors and so on. As when you have the construction, you've got at least 6 months worth of pile drivers pounding and shaking the ground all around the seniors and everything. What will it do to the structures of the buildings, our buildings, and the seniors right beside it while these things are pounding in the ground? If you've never lived beside one or been near one, I invite you all to come in and be beside them. They're not very nice at all. Aside from the unsightly sky crane, the loss of the sidewalk for all the kids that walk and the seniors that walk along that route for the next 2 years of construction for these 2 8-story buildings. So with that gone, you're now forcing people to cross an already busy street with lack of parking and so on. Where are all the construction people going to park while these units are being built? Fire and ambulance, as it is very busy now, and we have the 2 3-story condo apartments beside us, which frequently has ambulance there. So if you have all these construction vehicles and so on going on, it could delay, immediate help for them. If also it's low-income housing that some of these units may be, the safety for the kids, where are they going to play, the safety of them crossing Parkinson's. We have a crossing guard there 3 times a day, but not in the other times of when the kids want to cross to go to the park, to the skate park and so on. Are you going to put lights there? As it is now, it's very difficult to make a left-hand turn going from Ferguson up Parkinson to Finkel and so on. We're just really, really concerned. It's not aesthetically pleasing. A 5-story building with underground parking to give ample parking could possibly be better, but build something, or if they have to do this, build something in compliance, aesthetically pleasing, but it's just not a very great thing to have these 2 8-story there and so on. As I said, a lot of the other stuff has been covered, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions of council? Seeing none, Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next presenter is John Ruxton. Welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Ruxton. I represent 159 and 163 Parkinson Drive in the city of Woodstock. This is a 76-unit condominium, 4 stories. This was built some 27 years ago with foresight in mind that it would not interfere with the density and general appearance of the properties around it. The way it is right now, first of all, let me explain one thing. I'm not against having development of the property across the road from us. Definitely not. So that it's not a witch hunt. It's simply wanting to tell you our concerns. First of all, to the south of us, we have a new condominium community of 24 units. These units sell for in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $300,000 per unit. Then we have good old church. The density there at closing time was 6 monks and a priest. Quite a difference from 176 you want to put in there now. The buildings next to it are retirement home. Okay, again, low density, okay, lots of green space around it so that these people can move around. The main concerns being brought up, and I'm not going to spend much time on them because you can belabor them all to death. Traffic, okay, the traffic problem is something I would hope that our planning committee would put in sufficient time to study and do a preparation of a proper plan. Drainage, again, it's something that our planning committee needs to get back to the people in the general area so that we know what's happening. Right now, you have a lot of people that are saying, no, we don't want this, we don't want to see it, we don't want it under any circumstances. But that's not entirely true. Certainly we want to see development. Certainly we want to see people be able to buy property, make some money on it, and get on with life. That's what this is all about. We want to have this property fit our neighborhood. Okay? The old church and monastery reached a total of 40 feet. That 40 feet reached the height of the background of that particular lot as it backs up onto the sports fields behind it. Not a problem. Looks good. Okay? 4 stories high. That's about 40 feet. Rough and dirty. I mean, it might be a little more or a little less. But when you get to 8 stories, then you're twice that. So now you've got something way up here. And all of a sudden you have something that becomes an unsightly proposition for the people that live there. I was fortunate enough to move to Woodstock 14 years ago and buy a condo in 159. It's been a great place to live. I understand that the council is going to do some wonderful work behind me on the golf course, and I'm looking forward to that. So, yes, there's a lot of very positive things in our area, but there are a lot of very old elderly people. You know, you get old guys like me, I'm 80, okay? So, I'm a little hesitant on change, the same as most 80-year-olds are, okay? And we make no bones about this. Sometimes we're pretty set in our ways. But what we want is what's best for the city. And what we want for this city is for the property that's being built to conform with the other properties around beside it and to make it a working partnership that is good for everybody. With those thoughts in mind, gentlemen, I would ask you to consider changing the height of the proposal. I know that, 176 units is pretty good if you can get enough rent out of them. Certainly more than what you're going to get out of 76 units, which we have across the street. But in the long run, is this. As a condominium, we pay approximately $200,000 a year in taxes. Okay? Not bad for an old building, 27 years old. And one that we can't even get a large garbage pickup on. So with those thoughts in mind, the next guy that comes along is going to ask for those things, and rightfully so. He's paying the taxes the same as we are, but we're just trying to get everybody on the same page on this, okay? So with those thoughts, gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none. Thank you very much, and I didn't have to use the gavel for time constraints, so great trial run, everybody. We'll make sure that we keep notices posted as things get ready to go in the future after the other studies are done. We'll move on to our consideration of delegations. So we will have recommendation for the request for change of name for the Commander David Stock Education Center. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to make a motion that Woodstock City Council direct the city clerk to provide notice seeking public comment in accordance with policy GAO 1919 and to report back to Woodstock City Council at the next scheduled meeting following the conclusion of the notice period.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And that is it for consideration of delegations. So we'll move on to planning reports. And our first one is for 716 Dundas Street. A motion. Councillor Schadenberg. Or Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the application for zone change file number ZN 8-19-08 submitted by 2571790 Ontario Inc. for lands described as lots 15 to 17, part lot 18, plan 19, Dundas Street in the city of Woodstock, whereby the lands are proposed to be rezoned from Highway Commercial Zone C4 to Central Commercial Zone C5. And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before this decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Schadenberg. Ms. Haschler.
Thank you. So the first application for zone changes for lands located at 716 Dundas Street, and the applicant is requesting a zone change to rezone the subject lands from Highway Commercial C4 to Central Commercial C5 to permit the full range of uses listed in the C5 zone. The existing building on the subject property has an optometrist office on the site, which occupies only a portion of the existing building. And the applicant is requesting the zone change to allow for more flexibility to attract more tenants to the property. I believe that on Monday night, the applicant indicated that only, I think it's a third of the building is actually being used. And so they would like to be able to rent it out. The reason why it's appropriate to rezone the lands to a downtown zone, so the central commercial zone, is because the lands are currently located in part of the downtown area. And so the current official plan designation is the part of the central business district. So in our opinion, the application to allow for more uses on this property that are generally uses that should be located in the downtown is appropriate. It'll contribute to a mix and range of uses in the permitted area, and it'll also enhance the vitality and viability of the downtown. We did receive comments from the building department, and they indicated that the parking is considered legal non-conforming, and it's the number of spaces that are being provided on the site are typical for what's already provided in the downtown area. So So in light of that, we would recommend that council give favorable consideration to this application.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next application is for 392 Wellington Street North. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the application for lands described as Part Lot 5, Plan 350 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject lands from Residential Zone 1, R1, to Special Residential Zone 2, R2-31, to facilitate the conversion of an existing single detached dwelling to a converted dwelling containing 2 residential units. And further, that any comments received from public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Accioni. Ms. Haschler.
Thank you. This application is an application for zone change for 392 Wellington Street North. And as Councillor Lauder pointed out, the applicant is requesting to rezone the subject lands from R1 to R2 to facilitate the conversion of an existing single detached dwelling to a converted dwelling house that would contain 2 residential units. The applicants have indicated that they will be moving into the proposed second unit to assist a family member that is currently residing in the dwelling. The proposed second unit will be located in the basement. No exterior changes are being proposed to the building. Staff have reviewed the application, and the building department indicated that there's adequate parking on site for both units. And staff have also recommended that if council is to go through with is to approve the zone change, that it be given a site-specific zoning so that it would just allow a duplex as opposed to a semi-detached dwelling. If the applicant in the future or a future landowner wanted to build a semi-detached dwelling, it would have to come back before council and go through a public process. So we thought that that would be an appropriate way to address that. We also feel that the application is in keeping with the provincial policy statement as it promotes intensification, and it's an efficient use of lands and municipal services. And it's also, a duplex is a use that's contemplated by the low-density residential designation. In light of that, staff are recommending that the application be given favorable consideration.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next one on the agenda is the application for zone change for 78 Frederick Street. Councillor Schattenberg.
That Woodstock City Council approved the application for lands described as Part Block B, Plan 179 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the subject lands from Special Residential Zone 1, R1-13 to Special Residential Zone 2, which will be R2-30, to facilitate the conversion of an existing single detached dwelling to a converted dwelling containing 2 residential units at 78 Frederick Street, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Lauder. Ms. Haschler.
Thank you. This application is for a zone change as well. It's very similar to the last one that I just presented. It is for 78 Frederick Street, and the applicant is applying to rezone the subject lands to accommodate a duplex as well. The second unit will be located in an addition to the rear of the existing dwelling. And on Monday night, one of the neighboring property owners did bring up a concern about a 2-story addition being added to the property. However, I would like to point out to council that the proposed addition is actually going to be contained within the existing line of the current building. So we didn't feel that that was too large of an imposition for the subject property. Additionally, the applicant is able to provide adequate parking on the site. And I meant to also mention that the applicant has indicated that it'll be a family member that will be living in the proposed addition. Staff are satisfied that the application is in keeping with the provincial policy statement, as again it promotes intensification and it's an efficient use of the subject property. It's also as I indicated earlier, that it's a duplex, which is the use that's contemplated by the low-density residential designation. In light of that, staff would recommend that the application be given favorable consideration.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next item on the agenda is application for zone change for 1039 Dundas Street for Hanet Corporation. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council defer the application for zone change file number ZN 8-19-05 submitted by Hunet Corporation for lands described as Lot 265, Plan 678, Lot 5 and Part Lots 3 and 4, Plans 516, as in 434950 and Parts 1 and 2, 41R 3060 in the city of Woodstock, whereby the lands are proposed to be rezoned from restricted industrial zone M2 to special restricted industrial zone M2-10.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. Oh, Councillor Schadenberg.
I guess I do have a question from the mayor through to Andrea. I was wanting to know if, for example, we're going to defer this tonight. Are we deferring this for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or how long are we deferring this for? Because maybe it goes without saying, but this business is already in operation, and they're asking, requesting a zone change kind of after the fact, in my opinion, that if we're going to give them a deferral for perhaps 60 days, or if a time limit should be put on this amendment or this resolution.
Through the mayor to Councillor Schadenberg, the applicant indicated to us on Monday that he couldn't attend the meeting, and nor could he find somebody to attend in his place. So as you can see, the report is ready. There's a recommendation in there. So we would plan to schedule it for the very next meeting, being in May.
Thank you. Further discussion? You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next item is the application for official plan amendment for 140 and 160 Ferguson Drive. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council defer the application to amend the county official plan file number OP 18-07-8 submitted by Peaky Investments Inc. for lands legally described as Part Lot 10, Plan 1613 in the city of Woodstock, to redesignate the subject lands from community facility to high-density residential to facilitate the establishment of 2 8-story apartment dwelling houses with up to 168 units on the said lands. And further, that Woodstock City Council defer the zone change application file number ZN 8-18-10 submitted by Peaky Investments Inc. for lands legally described as Part Lot 10, Plan 1613 in the city of Woodstock to rezone the lands from Community Facility Zone CF to Special Residential Zone 4 R4-9 to facilitate the development of 2 8-story apartment dwelling houses with up to 168 units on the said lands.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next item on the agenda is the Statement of Revenue and Expenditures for the period ending March 31st, 2019. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move the Woodstock City Council receive the statement of revenue and expenditure for the period ending March 31st, 2019 as information.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion, Councillor Talbot.
Your Worship, through to Mrs. Hilderly, are there any lines in the financial statement that we need to be concerned with at this point?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Talbot. No, it's very early in the year and we're fine. Thanks.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Our next item is the 2018 Revenue Fund Budget Surplus. Councillor Accioni.
Move that Woodstock City Council approves allocating the 2018 surplus of approximately $1,455,000 to the reserve for capital projects.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Talbot. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. For those that are here tonight and those that are at home watching, that sounds like a very large number. That represents approximately 2% of our revenue fund budget. So as council went through the budget process and saw all of the great forecasting and work done by not only the managers here in the city of Woodstock, but also our finance department, it's nice to see that we find these efficiencies and can redirect those funds that we've collected from the ratepayers into meaningful projects for the future. Next item on the agenda is the Painted Crosswalk Initiative. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the painting of the crosswalk at Hunter Street and Light Street intersection as part of Active and Safe Routes to School program being conducted at Central Public School.
By Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And our next item on the agenda is the volunteer policy. Very appropriate in the month of April where we have so many volunteers being recognized through the entire community with all of our partners. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council adopt policy, council policy GA024 dash volunteer policy.
Talbot. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Next item on the agenda is the proposed sale of city-owned land to Willow Cultivation. Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, the Woodstock City Council authorized Willow Cultivation to act as the city's agent for the purpose of a zone change application on the subject site, and further that the Woodstock City Council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement of purchase and sale with Willow Cultivation, and that the necessary bylaw be read.
Seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Accioni.
Through the mayor, I was just wondering if the development commissioner, Mr. Mayor, can speak to this one for the public.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Accioni. What we have this evening is a proposed land sale of 1 acre to Willow, leading to the construction of a marijuana cultivation facility. It's subject to a zone change is required, obviously, for this type of use. It meets all of our conditions in terms of our standard sale, in terms of coverage, etc. And this is maybe a little different than what other people are reading in terms of the type of cultivation. This is entirely an indoor operation, so it's not a greenhouse or anything to that effect. It's entirely indoor. We'll have a number of security measures, etc. Also, we'll have systems in place to deal with smell and that sort of thing that may occur as a result of the facility. So, very high-tech operation, and we're looking forward to seeing them operating in the future.
Thank you. Further discussion of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Next item on the agenda is the service delivery review. Councillor Talbot.
Move that Woodstock City Council authorize an upset limit of $20,000 from the MMAH one-time funding be allocated to partner with the other Oxford municipalities in a service delivery review with respect to a two-tier governance model.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, through the mayor, I guess just really a comment on this, because just a couple of days ago, Ken Sealing and his partner were in Woodstock to Michael Fenn to do a bit of a community study on that day. But if you're one of those people who doesn't like to do a public speaking or appear in community, or you want to get succinct thoughts together, you certainly can participate in a survey online or write something up to 500 words and submit it through their website. Regional and just GOV for government, so regional GOV review at ontario.ca would be where you'd be able to send your comments to if you had your own thoughts as to the two-tier system in Oxford County, and it specifically will direct you to Oxford County, not the other regions that are going through the same analysis.
Thank you for that information. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Next item on the agenda is the 2019 Community Grants Program, the first intake. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that in accordance with the Community Grants Policy GA003, Woodstock City Council allocates the following grants for the year 2019. 7th, Woodstock Scouts, $7,000. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Woodstock and District Association, $5,000. Calvary Church Woodstock, $3,000. Cycles for Life for supporting transitional living, $2,500. K2K Productions of YFC Youth Unlimited Woodstock, $3,000. Ontario Genealogical Society Oxford County Branch, $2,000. Oxford Historical Society, $1,500. Theatre Woodstock, $3,000. Why Not Us, $2,500. Woodstock Agriculture Society, $7,500. Woodstock and District Developmental Services, $6,500. Woodstock Cricket Club, $2,000. Woodstock Curling Center, $3,000. Woodstock Dragon Boat Club, $2,500. Woodstock Lawn Bowling Club, $2,000. Woodstock Minor Ball Association, $7,500. Just a minute. Stuff to go down. Woodstock Radio Flying Club, $1,000. Woodstock Rotary Musical Festival, $5,000. Woodstock Triathlon Club, $1,000. YMCA of Southern Ontario, $8,000. Southgate Center, $1,500.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Talbot. Discussion, Councillor Lauder.
I just want to speak to the one that I didn't mention on here, the Loyal Order of the Moose. We will be looking at that again. The committee will be looking at that one because the organization Bullwinkles is in there. We just had word this week that they're no longer in there. So that's on, even though it's on the list now, that was approved, but we will be taking it back to the committee. And I want to thank the committee for working on this. We had 26 applications. The applications are up and the money's down. So we really watched our dollars here, and there will be another intake later, and we will be looking at this again. So I just want to thank all those in the committee that took part, and this is what it is right now, and we'll see what goes ahead later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lauder. Councillor Schattenberg.
Just want to mention, of course, all the advisory committees, whether it be community grants, advisory committees in the city of Woodstock, do a terrific job by a group of volunteers. But I guess I do have one question from Councillor Schattenberg to Councillor Lauder. Just to clarify, the Calvary Church of Woodstock is the only church on the list. Why is the city giving them money?
And that does come up each year. This is the Calvary Church, and maybe the mayor can actually answer this a little better than me, but the Calvary Church is the one that gets the Easter egg hunt together, and it's we help with it. It's an exercise of the city, the church, and there's another ERB. I think it is, they help out with that. So it's not for the church. It's to be able to supply this. And thanks for asking that question, because I know people do ask that way. Thank you.
And that's a perfect segue into information that we all need to share tonight for those that are here and those that are at home when dealing with outdoor events such as the community Easter egg hunt at Victoria Park, which sees so many families and young people come together. You're also dealing with weather. So at this point in time, we're keeping a very close eye on the weather for Saturday morning. And if in the event that the weather does not cooperate with us, we will make sure that we put out information through the city websites, social media, through the local media, radio stations, etc., to let people know about any potential cancellations. So, further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Next item on the agenda is the bylaws. Councillor Lauder.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Talbot that the following bylaws be given first and second reading. 9290-19, a bylaw to amend City of Woodstock Municipal Code Chapter 330, fee charges. 9291-19, bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-19-08, 716 Dundas Street. 9292-19, bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 862610 as amended, ZN 8-19-09, 392 Wellington Street. 9293-19, bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-19-07, 78 Frederick Street. 9295-19, a bylaw to provide for the sale of certain lands owned by the Corporation of City of Woodstock to willow cultivation.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Councillor Lauder.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Talbot, that the following bylaws be given third and final reading, 9290-19 through 9295-19, all inclusive. No, I don't have. Oh, 9290-19, 9291-19, 92-19, 9293-19, and 9295-19.
Thank you.
Okay.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. And let's see, tonight we will start with Councillor Schadenberg.
I am lonely on this side of the room, but I don't have anything to sort of add as far as closing comments go. Just hope that everyone has a great long weekend.
Thank you. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to congratulate Shelley Green, and I think it was around 200 volunteers for a very successful event again, Gems in Java. I was fortunate to be able to go on the Friday evening, and the room was buzzing with a lot of women and a few men, and lots of money was being spent and donated for Mothers of Heart with Ethiopia. And it's amazing that the work that this Shelley and her group of volunteers have done, so hats off to her for another very successful event. As you already mentioned, the Easter egg hunt, weather permitting, will be at Victoria Park Saturday at 10:30, but hopefully Mother Nature will have some sun on us, but if not, it'll be, I think I read in the email, 8 o'clock will be the announcement. They'll determine whether the hunt will go on, and if it doesn't, the chocolate will be distributed to many organizations that will enjoy it equally. And in saying that, I was waiting for my car today, and I was reading some news and already talking, and I know we've already discussed it, but the 24th of May parade, I thought we haven't even got to the nice weather yet, and we're already thinking about the 24th of May. So it's not that far away, the parade and all the things that will be happening. So hopefully that'll be in the minds of everybody. And just last but not least, it is a long weekend. It is Easter, and I hope everyone has an opportunity to celebrate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Saturday, April the 20th is the city's spring cleanup. Meet at the Parks Department at 192 Old Wellington Street South at 8 a.m. Until noon, and then you can come and enjoy a barbecue after the cleanup. And the Woodstock Fanshawe Choir spring concert is May the 4th at St. David's Church. I have tickets for sale if you wish to purchase them, or you can purchase them at the door. And just wishing everyone happy Easter. Enjoy your families and drive carefully wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just going through my list here, what hasn't been mentioned yet is the blood donor clinic, of course, Saturday, Goff Hall. They are in desperate need of blood. Please, it's in you to give. Remember that. Woodstock Day, of course, is coming up. Hopefully we'll see lots of you there. I haven't heard a total number of buses, but I hear ticket sales were going well, so look forward to that. The United Way is hosting their very first, hopefully annual, Toys for Big Boys at the Oxford Auditorium May 9th, so tickets are available. Look forward to seeing you there at that night. And again, happy Easter to you and your family from everybody. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
Well, thank you. And I had the very special privilege of being able to represent the city at the 320th anniversary for our Sikh friends here in the community. Their special service took place on Saturday, April 13th. They have not been able to build their permanent home yet. They do have the lands ready to go. So this service was held at one of the local high schools, and what a great turnout! Amazing culture and very warm welcome from all of them, just like we see in the community from everyone in the Friendly City. Now, of course, with this Easter weekend and all the celebrations that are going on, from tonight's Maundy Thursday and the Cedar dinners and the Passover meals and the Good Friday services, the hopeful Easter egg hunt on Saturday, as well as all of the Easter celebrations on Sunday. There are so many different organizations in the city that have prepared to welcome you, so make sure you get out and enjoy everything that the city has to offer. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Lauder, seconded by Councillor Talbot. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.